held this date pursuant to the following call. In the letter to the Commissioners dated January 30th, 2025, and reading as follows. The Honorable Members of the Delta County Board of Commissioners, dear Commissioners, a regular meeting of the Delta County Board of Commissioners is scheduled for Tuesday, February 4th, 2025 at 5:15 p.m. in the conference room at the Delta County Service Center. Sincerely yours, Nancy Prezrocki, Delta County Clerk. Please rise for a word of prayer. Lord, as we begin this meeting, we are thankful for our many blessings. We ask for your guidance to help our commissioners make decisions in the best interest of the citizens of our county. And Lord, we pray for the safety of our military men and women. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call Commissioner Milner.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
Commissioner Van Genhoven.
Here.
And Commissioner Jensen.
Here.
And the one thing I forgot to say is, does anybody want to sign in to address the board on agenda items?
Okay. Welcome everybody. And we'll start off with special orders of business, rules and procedures.
Oh, that's me.
Yes.
Jeez.
You're on.
Yeah, I'm on, yeah. So I have a set of rules and procedures that Tracy will receive tomorrow, but I figured it would be better to wait to do that until tomorrow because we potentially would be changing committee names tonight, depending on if we do the Veterans Affairs Office, because it used to be the Sailors. You know, I mean, we're gonna make some modifications potentially today. So I figured it would be better if I just make those last modifications and then give her the new document, and then it would be available for everybody on Nextcloud, and then you have plenty of time before the next meeting.
Okay.
So that was the plan.
Did you want to put that on hold for now then?
Yeah, just for the next meeting, yeah.
Okay.
Because you guys will need I think it's 10 days, it's required to have 10 days. Let me just take one moment to mention, it's in phases. So the very first phase is just to turn the document into an accessible document. So for instance, all the headings are consistent. There's no extraneous paragraph entries or spaces or anything like that. So it's really just to take the document, make the document accessible. And then once we get past that point, we can then start looking at content. So right now, there's really no content change. But it's very difficult when you're doing massive amounts of change editing in a document to do it all at once because it starts to become very cumbersome. So I figured we'd do it in phases. So that's the first
Okay.
step. So.
Okay. We will move on to number 5, approval of the minutes from previous meetings, County Board Meeting 1/21/2025 and 2/3 of 2025. I need a motion on those.
I have a couple of corrections. In both sets of minutes, OMA is actually written as OMI, so that should be changed so that it says OMA. And then also in the 1/21/2025 minutes, number 12, it doesn't represent what I had actually was trying to convey. What I was conveying about the policy review and then adding an additional step to that policy review was so that the policies would be made accessible, which means that they are, for instance, someone who might be sight impaired would be able to use a reader to actually have a reader read the policy. So what I was trying to convey is that the policies would be accessible, not employees' accessibility. So I wanted that corrected. And then also that the policies would be internally available to employees, readily available. But the accessible part was not quite what I was trying to convey. So, thank you.
So could we get a motion
Move approval with
on
amendments.
Okay,
Support.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Okay, number 6, approval of the agenda.
So there's a bunch of items that were provided to us as additions to the agenda. I will disclose that I am perfectly fine adding these to the agenda. However, I know that we have a rule, and that I think it's that we don't add anything to the agenda after Wednesday of the day before or the week before the meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. If we don't want to add them to the agenda, we don't have to, but I would suggest that we do have to add at least number 21, which is the FOIA appeal, because that's a timely.
20 and 21, right?
Yeah, 20 and 21. I would be perfectly fine adding the other contracts to the agenda, but I'll see what everybody else wants to do.
Okay, what's everybody's favor on that?
The, which
How do
one
you
would you
feel about
have here? The recreation plan based on for the 5-year plan contract with QPAD, that was decided in the last one versus when the next Park and Rec meeting will be. This wouldn't be able to be done if we wait
Exactly.
before that next meeting. So
Yep.
that would be one of those that just due to suspense, we would have to, because it won't make it back out before the next meeting, correct?
The next meeting for Parks and Rec is Thursday of the second week, so it'd be next Thursday at 5:30 PM. Or, you know what? Let me make sure, because I had that wrong once before. It might be the 3rd. Hold on. I want to make sure I get this right, because I've messed that up before. It's the 13th.
Okay.
So our next meeting would be the 18th.
Which is next week.
Yeah,
So you want that added on there?
I would like it.
Okay,
Do we see any of these as controversial? Like, I understand
Nope.
why we would do it the Wednesday before if it's something controversial, but in cases where the medical examiner or the animal shelter, to me, that's not a whole lot of controversy. I don't believe the public would hang us for putting it on the agenda and say, well, that really should have had more notice. Our administrator has asked us to put it on here for a reason. I assume it's more time sensitive as a reason. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So I would make that motion that we place 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 on the agenda as new business.
okay.
And would you guys like that
Yep.
read, what 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, 19, 20 is, 21?
Can I get a second on that?
I will support that. I'm sorry, did you say to add them?
Yes.
Okay, I will support that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Oppose.
Motion pass. Well, all 14 through 21 is added. And we now have an agenda with 8 new items.
Could we also, on that, could we do public, or should we do a public comment before and after closed session? Or should we, what's the pleasure of the board?
I mean, we have a precedent of moving the general public comment before we do closed session. That way the public can speak.
Right?
If they want to stay, they can
I
stay.
do feel that a lot of our public is here for what happens in closed session. So, never mind, forget I said that.
Okay.
Okay. So we do have an agenda, everybody. Number 7, presentation of written communications received and forwarded.
Motion to
There
place on
is-
file?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Number 8, reports of standing statutory and special committees and others. Public comment on agenda items. We have Richard Clark.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Richard Clark from Escanaba.
I'm here to talk about the director and the VSO and the clerk for the Veterans Administration here. First of all, I'd like to thank the citizens of Delta County for passing the millage. It's unfortunate we have a lot of benefits that are available to veterans, but they're not always accessible because there's no one to kind of take them through the passages that you have to go through. It's not, the veterans, the rules and regulations are not immediately understandable. So you need to have somebody, they have books and books and books that they have to go through. Second thing is, I think we're very lucky to we have Dave DeVore, who is our VSO now, and I think he's up for directorship. I worked with Dave, I'm a driver for the van that takes people to Iron Mountain Hospital. It's a voluntary service that about 8 of us, I think, maybe 10, do, and it's wonderful. And Dave put that together. He's put together some programs that are educational for vets. He's always in communication with vets. So to the extent that you have any, that you can do it, I would really, his hire as director being expedited. I know he's done a lot of work on this because I've watched him over the years. And he's just, and I was saying, I think he was chief petty officer in the Navy, he retired. Chief petty officers are like most of our staff NCOs are just outstanding. They run the military, basically, officers. We just kind of do and follow them and take credit. So I would like to recommend him for what thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment on agenda items? Any other public comment on agenda items? Seeing none?
Oh, Nancy.
Oh, Nancy?
I'd like to go back to the agenda.
Nancy, could you have your microphone?
I'd like to go, I'd like to go back to the agenda, where we added items to the agenda, and Commissioner Vankenhoven opposed. According to our rules of procedure, it has to be by unanimous decision.
Okay.
Okay.
So we can't add those items. I don't know if you want to add them, if there's a particular one you have, or just adding all of them is the issue.
Well, I do think we must add 20 and 21, which is the closed session and the FOIA appeal. That is timely, and we must do that. If we want to have the QPAD contract for the 5-year rec plan prior to the Park and Rec Commission meeting, we would need to add that. The others could potentially wait, although I would defer to Ashley on the audit, the administration and audit, and then also on the animal contract, whether those can actually wait.
The resolution that,
So number 15, I would request that be done here.
Yeah.
That is something that I have to have submitted
Okay.
tomorrow. If it does pass. Remaining items, well, the medical examiner, this would be effective January 1st, so we're in February. It's up to you as a commission. The MEIs, we are down, one of our MEIs are not able to fulfill their portion, so what we're requesting is that 2 of the other MEIs kind of fill in. This is beginning, again, January 1, the animal shelter contract, that's another one that needs to be addressed. And I would like to start preparing and giving Anderson Tackman time if we are going to seek them for
Okay.
services. So,
My-
I mean, these
My
are all-
questions would be why, my question, first of all, would be why, if these things are of so much importance, did we not get them until late this afternoon? Or starting this afternoon around 2 o'clock?
So these have been back and forth from finance to here to finance, and I had a finance meeting Friday afternoon,
Okay,
and we had to make all the recommended changes by the finance committee.
And then the organizations had to accept and send back those contracts, so it took Monday to get it done.
Okay.
well, I'm not one to hold up county business, but I would just like everybody to be aware that I am a stickler about following our rules of procedure, and it clearly states in our rules of procedure that things need to be added to the agenda no later than the Wednesday before a meeting. Last minute is not okay with me. Going over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items within 2 hours when there was a lot of reading material, and I didn't have time to, thoroughly go through things. I'm not comfortable with this, but I will change my vote for the sake of moving those items forward, but I don't want to see it happen again.
I do appreciate the following of rules. I too like to follow rules. I do want to have some flexibility, and I didn't like this either. I just want to acknowledge that, but I also know why it ended up being so late, and there was work that just had to get done on a Monday to get it, from these other organizations. And it's just, we have to move these things forward, so
But that
exceptions
wasn't-
once in a while.
But that wasn't relayed. That wasn't relayed.
Until now.
Right.
Yeah.
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 It's, I'm on that same boat, as long as
Yeah.
it's the exception and not the rule here.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's,
It's stuff that we have to get done.
it's not like a single item that, has a suspense. This is a lot that has suspenses, so.
I mean, we're all aware, we're also like 3 people short-staffed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do
So
better.
as we iron this out, I mean, yeah, once we're up to where we're supposed to be, yeah, this would be completely unacceptable. But, I mean, exceptions have to be made when, we've cut our staff down by, it's immeasurable how much we've cut our staff down.
We didn't.
So Nancy, do I need to
Well,
take a
we as a
vote
county
on this then?
did.
Let's revote on it, please.
Okay, at that time, I would like to have a vote to add all the items to the agenda.
So moved.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
I would like it noted, though, my reasoning, what I stated.
I think that takes place in discussion, correct?
Yeah.
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 Motion
Nancy,
passed.
thank you for for
Yeah, dropping that
going
out.
back to the rules and getting that corrected.
Okay, we went through public comment, committee reports. Administrators report.
I just have a verbal update for everybody. So I was in attendance on a conference call with Senator Slotkin on last Friday, talking about the OMB memo 13, and then it was rescinded and such in federal funding. She plans on having more of these conference calls and kind of bringing them forward based on like the UP and different districts and such. So I will be attending those. As for the airport, we're still moving forward with the operations. Just had a phone or a conference Zoom meeting with Mead and Hunt, which is the airport consultants, regarding the termination or the terminal expansion process and where we need to be. We're looking at applying for the MDOT Air Services Development Grant, and then also moving into the bipartisan, I'm sorry, I'm losing, but it's BIL grant. I have a meeting scheduled with the FAA to close out grants that are outstanding. I'm also in contact with the TSA regarding, we have to update our ASP plan. There are several different, besides the change in operations, facilitators, management, I should say. We have to also change some other procedures that have occurred. We've been working well. The airport operators have been working awesome with me when it comes to scheduling coverage. We've had a lot of snowfall in the past couple of days where, we have to keep those runways clean. So I'm very thankful for them over there. As in administration, I was gonna talk about the Delta Animal Shelter contract, been back and forth with them. Both parties, it seems, has been recommended by the finance committee, and then also their board has reviewed and it is agreeable to the terms that are presented to you. During finance, I think we're gonna gather some individuals together and start discussing this contract in a little bit more depth and looking at the animal control ordinance. The ME contract, been back and forth with our current ME and also finance on some terms. I believe both parties, well, I know the ME would be agreeable to this, and then finance has also recommended it. Same with the MEIs. I've been pushing forward with addressing all your concerns and comments when they are asked, as it was requested, and then still exploring the MIDC lead attorney replacement options and coordinating those and fulfilling FOIAs as they come in.
Can I get a motion to put administrator's report on file?
I'll make the motion to put the administrator's report on file.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anybody opposed? Motion passed. Number 2, Finance Committee minutes from 1:29:25 and 1:31:25.
So the Finance Committee, we're going to encapsulate those this evening. That'll be in items 6 through 8 on your agenda. And then it will also be items 16 through 19 on the additionally added items. We're going to go into those in more detail.
14 and 15 too are part of.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Finance.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Yep, for both 14 and 15.
Can I get a motion to put the Finance Committee minutes on file?
So moved.
Support?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Number 3, Personnel Committee reports of 1:30:25.
Yep, I would just like to make a note that there is an error in our minutes under old business number 1. That was from the previous meeting, not the meeting that we just held, so that'll need to be stricken from the minutes. Commissioner Johnson and I met, we went over more of the personnel policies, and we found quite interesting our discussions relating to personnel and finance, who handles what part of what policies. So we were able to go over our compensation and mileage, our cell phone policy, had a nice conversation with Brandon and IT regarding that, and then we moved on to our regular business where most of the items on the agenda had no action taken. So there was nothing on from personnel that is on the agenda this evening. Anything you want to add?
Oh, that's perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Can I get a motion to put that Personnel Committee report minutes on file
With the amendment,
with the
Support.
amendment?
so moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Number 4, Department updates. Department head updates. Any? Seeing none? We'll go down to number 11, general orders of business, unfinished business, airport transition proposal.
I do not have a drafted contract to present. As I think it was requested.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Is this something that we're moving forward with, yes or no?
That's the question for you, for the commission. Do you want to move forward with hiring an interim interim airport manager?
I thought, we never
That's what
voted
this-
on that.
No.
Yep.
We tabled it from the last,
Yep.
after closed session.
So, I mean, my opinion was that it wasn't, we couldn't decide whether we were a independent contractor or an employee. And because of that shaky ground, we don't want to get in trouble with federal labor laws. So my opinion was we'd be stepping away from it.
And can I ask a question, Ashley? What is your recommendation for the airport, would your recommendation be to look at the applicants and go through the application process before making any other decisions, or not?
Right, we have scheduled for this Friday, a meeting to review all the applications. They've already been sent out to the hiring committee and along with the scorings for the applications themselves, and then we're gonna discuss on moving forward. So
Okay.
we can wait until that time, or the
Okay.
first set of interviews.
Well, I would like to also add to something that Commissioner Johnson said, and it is not just that we couldn't differentiate between, it was also the cost. The cost was becoming prohibitive, and so that also played into this interim solution.
And given the fact that we are moving forward with the interviewing process, would an interim even be necessary at this point?
Right, I would say not if we're moving at this rate.
Okay.
But it could depend on the availability of the applicants too.
Gotcha, yeah.
So what's the board's pleasure of doing on this? Should we eliminate it, or do you want to just put it on hold?
I would say we'd have to put it on hold until we know what the transition is actually going to look like. We don't know if our new people are going to be coming in tomorrow, which would be awesome, or if they need like a 3 months notice.
You mean the applicants?
Or, yeah, the applicant.
Yeah.
Yep.
But even
Okay.
if they needed a 3 months notice, was that person that we were interested in willing to only come for that 3-month
Well,
period?
that's true too, yeah.
Because it was an annual request, correct?
That is
Correct.
correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah, so it almost seems like a moot point.
Sure.
I would recommend just keeping with our current process of filling positions.
So just remove this item from the agenda then? Yeah, okay.
Visit if,
Can somebody make a motion to
All right.
remove this item from the agenda?
I'm the motion guy, so I'll make a motion to remove airport transitional proposal from the agenda.
I'll
Support.
support.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Okay, move down to new business, payment of bills.
I've examined all claims presented and recommend payment of the following, and that the county clerk be directed to issue orders on the county treasurer to the claimants for the amounts allowed. Grand total of bills, $437,404.20. Commissioner expenses, $2,894.53.
I move that we pay the bills in the sum of $437,404.20, and commissioner expenses of $2,894.53.
Support?
Roll call?
Johnson.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Vangenhoven.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
And Melner.
Yes. Okay, our bills are paid. And we will move on to number 2, Parks and Recreation Commission bylaws.
So, as you see, there was a handout given to you with the most updated October 16, 2024 adopted bylaws. The ones provided to administration were not the updated, that's the ones that are on your next cloud. These are seeing the agenda item to be deferred until the next meeting, or I know Commissioner Williams, you may have some comments if you want to defer them back to.
Yeah, what, you were going to request that they be deferred?
Well, we haven't, they just received, the commissioners just received the corrected,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yeah, so if you would like.
Okay. I would say that based on what was in Nextcloud, there's very few differences, but one of the major differences was the mission statement. So if you read the mission statement in the printed version, you would have a fairly accurate representation of the bylaws. There are just a couple of small things that I would like to suggest that we look at, and the first one is under section 4, 2C. It says Chair of the Delta County Planning Commissioners, and it just should say Commission, something very simple. And then I just had a question on section 4, item 4, the last paragraph, or nearly the last sentence. It says County Board of Commissioners Secretary. Who's that? That is Tracy? Okay. I didn't know that that was what we called her, and so I wasn't sure who this would be going to, so. And I think that is it. Those are the only two questions I had with the bylaws. Otherwise, if we did want to adopt them tonight, we would have to amend, because the yellow highlights need to be removed. And then at the top where it says yellow highlight, not a part of the approved, that would have to come off. So, I mean, but that would be it. So I would make a motion that we accept the bylaws for the Delta County Parks and Rec Commission with the edits that we just discussed.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Okay, number 3, Parks, Campground Policy and Regulations.
Presented to you are the policy and regulations. These have been reviewed by legal, sorry, and approved by the Park Commission.
I did read through them. I was thankful that we got a copy that had been reviewed by legal as well, because there is a lot of information in there that could be, could be a liability to the county at some point. So it was very nice that those had been reviewed prior, and I'm fine with them. So I would make a motion that we accept the campground policies and regulations
I'll
as
support.
presented.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Number 4, LEPC Roster 2025.
This is a list of the members that our emergency management coordinator is requesting to be approved for the local emergency planning committee. And this is conducted annually by us.
Okay,
Move approval.
Support?
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Number 5, FY 2024 HMEP grant application.
The HMEP grant application, this is an annual application that our emergency management coordinator compiles for us, and we're looking for your approval.
Move approve.
Can I get support?
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed.
I'd like to mention that HMEP is Hazardous Materials Emergency Preparedness, because a lot of times people don't know what our acronyms mean, so that's for the
Thank you.
public.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 6, Veterans Affairs Director. Job description.
Finance personnel, along with our current VSO, and I have been moving towards the creation of a fully operating county Veterans Affairs Department since the millage was approved. Attached in your packet is the job description, and also under the finance minutes, you'll see the recommended salary for the position, which is to be offered up to $64,000. I'm requesting that the commission approve the creation of this Veteran Affairs Director with the presented job description and the salary. I also would like permission to fill such, permission to fill such position throughout our hiring procedures.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
So moved?
Support.
Any discussion?
I do have just one thing to say. Mr. Clark had approached at the podium and had made a comment that the current person be, put into this position. And I just want to make sure that everyone knows we are an equal opportunity employer. We do have a process. We can't just make an appointment. But I very much look forward to, hoping that this individual is in this position. But I just want to make sure that we know we cannot just appoint people to positions.
Right.
Any more discussion?
I just want to add, like, just so everybody's understands the process. So, usually we post this until filled. So we won't take it down after so many days. However, we do begin reviewing applications after 2 weeks.
Okay.
I typically, or the administrator typically, picks us employees or maybe elected officials throughout and have them review these applications, them make selections on who they're gonna interview, so. And it's always geared towards, who makes the minimum requirements and the experience, so,
Perfect, thank you.
yeah.
And we had a motion?
We have a motion
Second.
second, yep.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Number 7, Veterans Affairs Clerk.
This is, again, a new position. This is a grant position and the job description has been reviewed by personnel and then forwarded over to finance for a recommendation on rate. So currently, we applied for this grant at a rate of $18. This is the rate that's been recommended by finance. They also made a recommendation within the header of the job description. It says exempt for the employee to change it to non-exempt. So we're looking for approval of that change.
I'll move that we adopt the job description for the Veterans Affairs Clerk. And are you wanting to post that now as well?
Yes.
And for that to be posted.
Support?
Support.
Any discussion?
Yes. $18 an hour?
That was what was applied for. It is a part-time position. $18.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Number 9, appointments to the Veterans Affairs Committee.
Nope, we had
Oh.
number 8 yet, sorry.
Oh, I missed one. Veteran Service Officer.
So this is a current position within Delta County. This position is coordinating all the operations right now for the veteran services. We're looking to restructure that and have it shifted to the focus of assisting the director and, with various tasks, including the VSO services to our veterans.
Okay. Can I
So we're
get-
requesting there's a different pay scale as noted in the finance meeting minutes, and then along with the updated job description.
Can I get a motion?
Make a motion to approve the Veteran Service Officer.
Can I get support?
Support.
Any discussion?
Yeah, real quick, that's also wanting to be filled too, correct?
It's not currently vacant.
Okay.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Now, it would be appointments to the Veterans Affairs Committee. We have,
Attached to your packet, you'll see several applicants. If you, that is outside of the new business are all the applicants. Inside new business under B9, you'll see some documentation regarding the Act 192 of 1953. And then also a recommendation from administration on terms for the individuals. And finally, the last page of your document of B9, you will see the recommendations from our current VSO officer for each district.
And are those, they're listed 1, 2, 1, 2 if there's multiple, so the first one would be the recommendation?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Now, how do you want to do this? Just,
As the,
District 1 would be,
Yeah, do we want to go through each one separate?
I would,
and
I would,
all of us vote?
well,
Well,
I would say as the rep from District 2, I would nominate District 2 person.
Okay.
And so I'll nominate Gary Maynard as the rep from District 2.
Okay.
And,
Along with the, do we do the terms at the same time they do the recommendations? Or do you want to do it separate?
I'd say let's do it separately.
But yeah, separately.
What was that, Ashley?
I was just asking if, when we should do the terms, I just don't want that forgotten,
Okay.
so.
District 1, Benjamin, how do you pronounce that? Pro?
Pro.
Okay.
In that one, Mr. Chairman, I have a conflict. I know individuals in District 1, both personally and professionally, so I will be abstaining from voting.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I would say in this area, the fact that you know somebody doesn't negate who you vote for. In fact, that's what you're paid to do is,
Another one's from my district, but this one, I think it would lend an unfair advantage.
he's not paying you.
No, that's
So
true.
I would say you don't have a conflict of interest, and this is
If the
why.
board determines it's not, then I'm good with voting on it.
I don't think that that's a
Okay.
conflict of interest, no.
Okay, so we
I
have
agree.
District 1, we have District 2, District 3.
I would say the only way that it would be a conflict of interest is if you're related.
And there is a relation,
Oh, there is.
yes.
Okay.
Close? No.
What
but
district? Where
one.
are we?
One.
I'm sorry.
In District 1.
We're hopping from one to two.
District
In District 1,
I'm
yes.
just like, what's going on?
There is family
Okay.
But
connection with one.
our nepotism policy, I can't remember how deep it goes, but it doesn't go like
Cousins.
third cousin.
No.
It
Otherwise, we'd
goes-
all be related.
Right, exactly. So I would say you said a distance relation. I would say that you're fine because it's not a brother, sister, even
Yeah.
first cousin.
Or even
Yep.
by marriage.
Yeah, or by,
so.
yeah. Like, so I think our nepotism policy would rule that you're still okay.
So,
Okay, where are we?
District 3.
District 3.
District
That was-
3,
We picked District 1 and 2 so far.
and I'm going to recommend Carlton Isaacson from District 3.
Okay.
I am going to recommend Smythe, Calvin Smythe for District 4.
And for District 5, Stephen Coturni.
Okay. So we do have a,
I would move that those be the appointments
For the new Veterans
for the
Affairs.
new Veterans Affairs Board.
okay.
Support.
Any discussion on any?
I was going to say, but before that, thank you to all those that applied.
Oh, absolutely.
And even within the districts, I know based off of board positions that have been previously done, some of them both served at the same time versus where the new makeup is. And in many cases, there was a lot of experience with individuals that have deep connection within the service organizations as well. So thank you.
And we're going to keep the expiration dates the same, correct?
Oh, we're
We have
setting
to
that,
keep- we have to
we're
set
setting that
that.
You have
section.
to set that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, thanks. Okay.
Yeah, we'll set that.
Any
next.
more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion pass.
And now we would set the dates.
Thanks.
I would like to request too, with appointing these new members, this also removes the Sojourner Sailors Relief. So I would like to send out thank you cards or letters to each one of those members.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I will update the rules and procedure template that I'm working on with this change.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Should we make a motion for that? I'd like to make a motion for that.
Yep.
Go for it.
All right.
Do
That
we wanna
would be my
include-
motion to send the thank yous and update the rules and procedures.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed.
So now we need, I'll make a motion that we set the expiration dates of the new Veterans Affairs appointees to each district as follows. District 1 expires December 31st, 2026. District 2 expires December 31st, 2026. District 3 expires December 31st, 27. District 4 expires December 31st, 27. And District 5 expires December 31st, 28.
I'll support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Sorry, Steve.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Okay, we will move on to number 10, appointment to the airport board.
I believe we have one applicant for the airport board, and then also when the applicant is or the appointee, if it is given tonight, I would like to send a thank you note to our previous individual.
Okay.
As the representative for District 2, I would like to nominate Steve View for the airport board and can I take care of number 11 also?
We probably have to do
No,
them
All right,
separate.
I'll-
separate items.
Sorry.
I'll support that.
I know.
Okay, any discussion? Okay. Favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion pass. Parks and Rec Commission.
And same goes as District 2 representative, I would like to nominate Steve View to the Park and Rec Commission.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion pass. Let's see here. We will move on to number 12, Board of Commissioners per diem and travel reimbursement.
This subject has been brought up a few times in the past couple meetings, and so the Finance Committee has developed a new per diem and travel reimbursement policy for your review and approval. They have recommended this one.
Does it have a net gain or net loss for the budget?
I think it has a net gain. Because we've cut out certain things that you used to get reimbursed for, so there's probably a net gain.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I would like to refer this to personnel, just so they can look through it, because it does involve personnel as well.
Motion to
Yeah,
do
that'll
that.
be my motion.
I'll support that.
Okay,
I would like to note during discussion that we had actually asked whether or not it should go back to personnel in finance, and we agreed that it wasn't. So this is a change to that, but it's fine with me. It's just we actually asked the question during finance, so
What was the reasoning that it didn't have to be?
I don't recall what it was. Yeah,
I
I
don't
just had asked, does this need to go back to personnel? And the answer was no,
Oh.
so.
Okay.
okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Number 13, email response policy for the administrator.
So this one's me. From what I understand, our administrator's been asked to respond to us within a certain amount of time. As far as like different fires that go out, where we sit as priority as commissioners. And I just wanted to, I wasn't privy to that meeting, so I just wanted to know where we were sitting as far as administrator's response time.
Sure. So Commissioner Malner and I had a discussion with our administrator regarding a turnaround time for when a commissioner requests something of her. what would be an appropriate time to respond. She said within a day, and we felt that that would be adequate as well. What we had discussed was that when we send an email requesting information from our administrator, that we could put on that email whether it be listed as a high priority, a medium priority, or a low priority, so then she would know how quickly she would have to get back to us. And that seemed to be amicable for everyone involved. So that's where I stood on that.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, what in the low, medium, and high, is there a time difference for those? Like if I were to send a message, I like knowing that I would get a response back quickly, because typically when I ask a question, it's because I have to do something for either a meeting or I need something to, make a decision. But when you say add a low, medium, or high priority, does
I
that
guess
change?
I guess like for high, medium, or low priority, I would mean for like me, like how important is it that she reach out quickly,
Okay.
To me? Like, there's a difference between saying, can I have something put on the agenda 2 months from now? Well, that's not something that
Gotcha.
would require an immediate response.
I guess
but-
one of the things that I look at, if it's one of those that is of the utmost importance that I need like right now or within that day, I'm probably gonna send an email and I'm gonna send a phone call. But we also have to take into account our administrators filling 4 full-time jobs right now. So I'm probably more flexible on when I get something back. No, I've always gotten a response within a day. Very rarely that I can even think of that I haven't heard back within a day anyway. I mean,
would-
there's got to be some kind of flexibility in there too.
Well, and as an effort to keep my committee relevant, I would say that this is also a personnel issue. So this really should have been brought to personnel rather than a meeting with the administrator. So if it was an issue, it needed to come to personnel first. The policy could have been written, we could have all seen it, and then it would go forward. By skipping my committee, and I'm just a member, I'm not even the chair of that committee, it makes it look like it's just kind of a couple people feel this way. And it looks like we're setting policy for a couple people, not for the commission as a whole. So I would like to see this go to personnel in order to set a policy that seems fair and relevant.
And I agree that a policy needs to be written. I definitely am a proponent for having quicker turnaround on emails, but a policy would be it would be the most adequate way to solve the problem so that we have something in writing and it's a policy. So I would agree with that, but I am a proponent of having emails responded to in a timely manner. And whether that's 24 hours or not, whether that's what you guys determine at personnel is fine, but it is important. And I definitely have experience with not getting responses back when I needed them to be a little quicker. So I would be okay with looking into what's an adequate response time, so.
Commissioner Johnson, you made a motion then?
To refer this
To
to
do
personnel? Yes.
I'll support.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Okay, let's see here. We will move on to number 14. Parks and Rec QCAD contract for 5-year recreation plan.
Ashley, do you want me to cover that, or do you want to cover that?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so the QPAD proposal that came through for the 5-year rec plan is that, basically, it's QPAD doing the work to facilitate the public engagement, and we had talked at Parks and Rec about having multiple public engagements, really trying to have the public participate in the future of their parks and recreational areas. And then that QPAD would also gather information from surveys, from the public engagements, and from administration and from the commission here, as well as the Parks and Rec Commission, which then would go into the 5-year rec contract plan, and they would write it in one voice so that it's obviously, a document that can live with us for the next 5 years, if not longer. Their plan is $6,300 to do that work. I think it's $6,300 to $6,600, but I think the contract says $6,300, which I think is very reasonable. It's about 119 hours worth of work, and if they go over that 119 hours, they charge $65 per hour for any additional work, which seems very reasonable to me for this type of work. But that's the contract, and if there's any questions on it, I can address questions that you might have.
Okay. Did I get a motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Can I get support?
I'll support.
Any more discussion?
Oh, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
And Commissioner Williams, if I'm correct, you're pretty much checking all the boxes for when we do the DNR grants as well, by having community involvement and all that other stuff. So thank you for checking those boxes.
Yeah, absolutely. And QPAD has done so many of these. They're very proficient, and I think that they'll do the work in a timely fashion and definitely check all the boxes so that we can apply right away after we're done with it.
One other question. We were looking at previously, there was a possible grant opportunity. Are we still looking at that?
Yeah,
to
so
cover
that's
this?
off the top of my head, I'm like, it's a rural something grant.
Yep.
And, yes, and it's Matt Valaket and Steve Wary have been working on that. And I believe they still will, but we don't want to wait to
Correct.
see whether or not that comes through. So we're making this commitment. These funds are in the parks budget.
They are.
So we're making the commitment to do this. If the grant comes along, great. We'll cover it with that grant, but we're not waiting any longer.
I just want to make note that the grant, I don't believe, covers costs that have already incurred, that we've already paid for. We can't go back and reimburse those
Correct.
prior to the award.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Commissioner Kelly, you
Yeah, I
have
just had a
something?
question, because in December, there was a motion from the Parks and Rec Commission to acquire help from QPAD not to exceed $5,000. So now it's $6,300.
That's correct.
Okay.
Because that's what I think in December when you guys did your work, it was, QPAD had not actually given you a contract for the number of hours at that
Okay.
point. They were estimating what the work would be, and I think at this point, when they met with us in January, they had done all of that work, and they had actually laid out exactly how many hours it would take.
Gotcha.
I
Thank
think
you.
that's
Yeah.
the difference.
Thank you.
Any more discussion?
And we're okay with that extra $1,300 in finance?
It is actually, there's money within the Park and Recreation budget for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was told that that it wasn't a line item, so it had to be added.
Actually, what they did to be able to accommodate that is one of the projects that had been looked at for this year, because we don't know if we're going to be getting that grant or not. And if we don't get that grant, there's one of the projects we looked at that we would not do that would cover that amount.
Gotcha.
Can I get a roll call?
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Van Genhoven?
Yes.
Jensen?
Yes.
And Melner?
Yes. Okay. Your number 15, resolution, conflict elimination plan, drug enforcement fund.
Presented in front of you is a resolution to resolve the deficit in our drug enforcement fund. As you see in years it's for fiscal year '23, it resulted in $17,000 deficit. In year '24, it will result in it is a $38,000 deficit, and then we will be with the new change in direction of funding using the marijuana tax monies that we receive in '25 and '26, we will be eliminating the deficit. Prior to this was funded through the road patrol fund, and we just changed the direction of that.
Ashley, can you explain?
Could I get a motion
Oh, yeah.
first and then?
Thank you.
Yep,
Can I get a
motion to
motion?
approve?
Support?
Support.
Discussion?
Thank you. Can you explain the breakdown of how this is getting covered, essentially?
In fiscal year '25.
Yes.
So we received an increase in federal sources, which is our burn grant. That is not something we expect to happen in fiscal year '26, which you'll see a decrease in the federal sources. However, the marijuana tax that is received by the general fund, the commission has approved to use those monies to fund our drug enforcement.
Thank you.
So any of those that are not covered through the burn grant or through reimbursement of overtime for the drug enforcement officer will be covered by the marijuana tax.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Number 16, medical examiner's contract.
So last time this was here, it was requested that section 6A to include a written report from our medical examiner. When I brought that back to our ME, he was requesting that we change that to, he would provide us with his written and electronic data, and if we need to write a report off of that, one of our staff members could do that.
I'll just add to that real quick. It was requested that if we requested.
Right,
That, yeah, if we requested that we wanted a report, then he would provide us with that report. And he's just saying, I can provide you with all the data, and then you can put a report together if you
Correct.
want. But we would at least have access to all of the data, so.
Get a motion to accept the contract.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Number 17.
I touched this earlier when we were talking about adding to the agenda the MEI contracts. So we currently have 3 MEIs. One of our MEIs are unable to perform their task. And with speaking with the other 2 MEIs, they're willing to take on that individual's workload temporarily until the individual is able to return. This will not increase any costs to the county because we reimburse their pay for the individual on the services that they perform, so 1 visit, 2 visits, such. So that person just wouldn't have any compensation at that time. So we're just looking for an amendment to the other 2 contracts.
And MEI is,
Medical examiner investigator.
Thank you.
Investigator, sorry.
I would move that we amend the 2 contracts for our MEIs.
Support?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Number 18, animal shelter contract.
So in the animal shelter contract, one of the major changes you're gonna see is an increase in appropriation to the Delta Animal Shelter of $33,000. We typically appropriated $25,000. It was brought to our attention that this rate has not been increased in over 10 years. So this is a 1-year contract, that's another change. Typically, we have 3-year contracts with them, we're doing 1 year, so we can review this again prior to September 30th, the expiration date. There were also some format and clarification on adding, what was it, animal?
Yeah, some of the language in the
Shelter.
contract was a bit laxed, so
Yeah.
we tightened up a little bit of that language and gave it back to them, and then they gave it back to us.
Now, I heard at one time that one of the commissioners was going to sit on the board at one time, or is that?
Oh, yes, they did not, want that.
Yeah, so I think it's important to take a step back real quick about the animal shelter stuff. So this, when was it that we,
Hold on, real quick. I have a point of order. We don't have a motion on the
Oh,
floor before we
okay.
start discussion.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
so moved.
Support.
Discussion.
What are we motioning and
Okay.
supporting for? Approval?
Yeah, approval.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, the animal shelter, we used to, as a county, have an animal control officer, and we managed our own shelter. Okay? And at some point, we transitioned away from that. And now we have a 501c3 that operates an animal shelter. And we, as a county, our sheriff's department, and some other folks, City of Escanaba, Gladstone, so forth, take animals that are, I wanted to say arrested, but not, they're, I was trying to come up with the right term. They're picked up, and they're taken to the shelter, and we pay the shelter for this service that they're providing, which is housing, feeding, vaccinating if necessary, quarantining if they have rabies or that sort of thing. So it's a service, and that's what this $25,000 that we've been paying is for, which hasn't been increased in 10 years. So what we did at the Finance Committee is we looked at this contract and we said, wow, there's a lot that needs to be done here, because our animal ordinance is completely out of, it just needs to completely be redone, because it's still assuming we have an animal control officer and that we run our own shelter. So we have a lot of work to do. So what we wanted to do was just put this contract in place in the interim, so that we could then get all the right people around the table. We would have the shelter, the sheriffs, the police departments, whomever on the commission wants to sit through these, to basically revamp all of this, because it's all out of date. So,
So one of the other things in there for the public to know, it's not the board that does that part. The sheriff's department actually has a statutory obligation for
Right.
animal
Yeah.
control. So it's not something that we decide on. This is something by statute that the sheriff's department has to do.
yeah.
How many animals do we bring to the animal shelter as public safety and
That just
sheriff?
happens to be one of the statistics.
Yeah, that was, yeah, in that kind of breakdown, it's,
It was around 1,000.
yeah. County-wise is obviously less than, say, the city.
Sure.
Or say City of Escanaba will have more than what the sheriff's department deputies bring in. Gladstone brings in, I think it was slightly less than the county brought in, but it was total, I think it was
999, wasn't that?
Yeah, it was
So we're-
almost 1,000.
just under.
We're looking at like,
A year.
we're looking at like $330 an animal is what we're looking at per year.
That's what with this particular contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more discussion?
And they were not willing to give us a seat on their board?
No, well, like
Or what?
Commissioner Williams had stated, they're a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So, and we're asking them to provide us a service.
Yeah, we're paying them for a service. They're not a county, they're a 501c3, they're private, essentially.
Got
So, yeah, so it would be like us asking to sit on, I'm trying to think of another 501c3's board.
Like
that-
the child advocacy.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
exactly.
Yep, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion pass. Okay, number 19, administration, Anderson, Techman and Company, audit service. Ashley?
So, the partner over at Anderson, Tackman and Company, informed me that they were able to perform our fiscal '24, audit. However, they would not be performed until April 1st, which would be after the deadline of March 31st of submitting those documents over. And so I just wanted to bring it to the attention of the board and then request approval to proceed on with these audited services.
And I did ask the question in finance, is this like, are we gonna get in trouble for this because we're not meeting it? And the response really was like, not really, it's, you know.
Well, there is, I mean, we are required to submit these documents by March 31st. This is how we receive our revenue sharing and various other, like, grant reporting and such. However,
But-
if we get it within a timely manner, I don't foresee us being in a troubling state, but we do have to get this in.
Yeah, they'll hold the
immediately.
revenue sharing until we provide the documents.
Correct,
Okay.
Do you need a motion on this then?
yes.
Okay, can I get a motion?
Motion to accept.
I'll support.
And
Any
then
discussion?
discussion, yeah, because I do want to point out that we talked about going out on an RFP in the future for auditing services, rather than going with the same service every year. So in the future, we would plan ahead and be going out for RFPs before our audit process.
Yep.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Number 20 is closed session, so we will need a motion to go into closed session.
Mr. Chair, I'm recusing myself and declaring a conflict of interest.
I will make a motion that we go into closed session by, I'm tired, that we will go into closed session according to the Open Meetings Act, Section 15.268, Section H, which is to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute, specifically a written attorney opinion on a FOIA appeal.
Can I get a roll call?
We need a second.
Oh, I'll second.
No, roll
Okay.
call.
All right. Johnson?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Vankenhoven is recused. Jensen?
Yes.
And Melner.
Yes.
This one is locked.
No, they didn't.
There it is.
Great, I'll make a motion that we return from closed session, and no decisions were made while we were in closed session.
Support.
Favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion pass. Okay.
Make a motion to acknowledge the receipt of FOIA Appeal 2505.
So moved, or support.
Favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion pass. Okay. We will move on to general public comment. Any general public comment? Okay. Come on up to the mic and state your name.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Stephen Kacharny. Thank you for your vote of confidence on putting me on the Veterans Affairs Board. My only public comment is, why are U.S. Commissioners sending out applications for a director of the Veterans Affairs Board? Why can't you appoint them directly by the vote of Commissioners? Ms. Young was appointed to her position as interim administrator before she was hired on full-time. Why can't we do that for Mr. Dave Xavier right now? He is the director. He's been directing this VSO position for the past 9 years by himself. And with the assistance and input from the Delta County Veterans Council and many other veterans organizations within the county, he has done a fantastic job. My question, why does he have to apply for his own job? Chief Xavier is the person who wrote the entire proposal, the position descriptions, and the bylaws that we will be forced to go by. Basically, everything that has been presented to you, to the commissioners, he has already given to you. Make him the director. I understand there may be a process that has to be done for hiring him into that position. But for an interim position, appoint him now. Get it done. Make the vote happen right now. We passed this millage back in November with a lot of legwork by myself and veterans throughout this county. And Dave was leading this ship. Give him the due diligence and give him the position that he rightfully deserves. He is already a county employee. And as an employee, he should have direct access to that director's position, in my opinion, without the need to go through a hiring process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other general public comment?
Robert Grant, Stadler, Escanaba. I imagine some people were stunned when Andrea Newman recently branded Administrator Young and I as federal criminals. Unfortunately, I've grown used to her ridicule and insults. Although I've since resigned, I've been the target of Newman's ire since 2023, when I replaced her as airport manager. She initially accused me of fabricating a report concerning compliance, staffing, and financial problems that I delivered my first few months on the job. Her claims are later debunked as key regulators and policymakers went on to validate my findings. I've endured Newman's insults and those of her allies for over a year. Some of their more outrageous claims concern the character of my military service, my academic credentials, and supposed political conspiracies with former commissioners. All these accusations, including the wild claim I once spied for the CIA, also prove false. What I do find shocking is the lack of reaction to her claims. Last month, Newman accused Young and I of committing federal security violations. Simultaneously, she complained about an unfulfilled FOIA request that deprived her of critical evidence. Despite this insufficient evidence, she asserted that we violated federal law. Newman did not frame this as opinion or conjecture, but rather as a statement of fact. Although the board addressed the FOIA issue, it has failed to challenge or even acknowledge her inflammatory accusations. According to Newman, without the benefit of investigation or trial, crimes were committed, full stop. I categorically deny any wrongdoing. Beyond complying with the board's direction to provide Graham a need-to-know status, I neither planned nor executed any phase of his investigation, including sharing sensitive airport materials. Newman will soon insist that the airport was never in danger of closing because documents stating precisely that do not exist. Although federal agents never planned to physically board up the airport, the likelihood of its operating certificate being suspended or revoked were very real. This would have interrupted commercial air service in Delta County, effectively shuttering the airport to the traveling public, while eliminating critical revenue, which would have proved devastating. If leadership is genuinely concerned in drawing upon outside talent to manage the airport, please consider what I've endured after living here for 2 years while managing the airport for just 1. Will Newman be permitted to browbeat our next airport manager, or will this board respond? Her unchecked accusations do nothing more than discourage future applicants and erode public trust. I urge you to address this matter immediately. Thank you.
Any other general public comment?
Andrea Newman, Maple Ridge Township. I would just like to take this time to thank the board for their work on getting these FOIA appeals through. I know it was obviously a lot of time spent behind closed doors, so I appreciate all the work you put into them. Thank you.
Any other general public comment? Any other general public comment? Seeing none, we will move on to commissioners' comments. Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, I had a Board of Public Health meeting, went really well. We are statistically at the peak of flu season, and so numbers seem to appear to be starting to fall, so that's really good news. And that goes for numbers across the board. I was in the walk-in with my daughter, and it didn't seem like the numbers were going down, but they tell me that numbers are going down. So wash your hands.
Commissioner Williams.
I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Commissioner Kelly.
Yes, our opioid task force is still accepting RFPs for opioid funds through March 31st. That can be found on Delta County website, deltacountymI.gov. There will also be an overdose awareness meeting on February 12th at 7 p.m. at the Masonville Township Hall. Dr. Francie Myrick will be there and other local officials as well. We had a planning commission meeting last night, which we have a case that will be coming forward for approval. We did follow up with Commissioner Johnson's suggestion regarding the one commissioner. And the discussion was very good. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be looking to bring a proposal forward or a recommendation forward to this Board of Commissioners to go down to one county commissioner and then one representative from the Township Association, with the caveat that that person has to be from a township where we regulate the planning and zoning. So that was a very fruitful discussion.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have a hiring round, as Administrator Young stated, on Friday, so I will be unable to attend opioid task force. But trying to think what else we had. Oh, solid waste. Everything is fine with solid waste. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
So the first one obviously coming up is for the hiring committee for the airport. The Fair Board recently had its first meeting, and it's also its organizational meeting. Some of the items like we ran into last year, like we know the power outage that happened, there's going to be incremental progress that's working towards fixing that in its entirety. It will be done in groups. One of the items that will alleviate the issue and strain is the stage area that was there will actually still run this year on a generator. So it will not be tied into the rest of the system. So that will be, let me rephrase that. That will help alleviate the amount of draw that was on that caused part of that issue. So the other one is maintenance that's going on the grounds. There is a bathhouse project. It'll be in and around the Pocket Park area. That should be, the plan right now is for that to be open by Fair Week. So that will be something nice to see. And of course, maintenance within the animal barn areas and to help increase the overall positive experience for both our exhibitors and our guests that go to the fair. And then in addition, coming up here, let me give a plug here for the Planning Commission yet, the Citizen Planner Program that's done through Michigan State University Extension. It begins April 10th, and that's at the Escanaba Township Hall in Gladstone. And it has several dates, April 10th, 17th, 24th, and then May 1st, 8th, and the 15th. That's a course have put out a bunch. It is, if you even have any intent, whether it's a sit-on planning at the county level or your township does planning and zoning and you're interested in it, this course is definitely for you. If you're in one of those townships that doesn't do your own zoning, this is a good opportunity to take this course and actually become a little bit more engaged with what goes on within your township as well. Thank you.
Yancy,
Nothing for me.
Administrator Young.
Yes, so when we were appointing for the Parks and Recreation Commission, I would just like permission to also give that applicant, or I'm sorry, the previous member a thank you letter too. I forgot that.
Absolutely. That was
Yeah.
Brian Godfrey, is that correct?
Yeah. So do we need a motion to give them a letter?
I think you just need a nod.
Yes. Motion, I'll say, motion to acknowledge the District 2's previous member.
Can I get support?
I'll support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I apologize for the oversight.
Motion pass. Okay. Anything else, Administrator Young? I was contacted by the administrator from MAC and on the federal funding. And after I heard Ashley just had something, she sat through something, I'll have to talk to her, but he asked me, since I am Region 1, which covers the whole UP, to find out what counties are having problems with federal funding, to get a hold of him after I find out which counties are having problems. So I am working on that, as started yesterday, and got some contacts, and we'll be getting back with the MAC administrator that runs it and let them know what counties are having problems. So that's about all I got. Meeting schedule, regular board meeting of commissioners would be 2/18/25 at 5:15 right here. The second one would be at 3/4/25 at 5:15. And then the third one is 3/18/25 at 5:15, all right here. So, notices, 30-day notices of appointment, there is none. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.